Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. Today, we're looking at another part of the United States, another state. Today, we're actually going into a place that I really love just by its pronunciation. It really clicks on my tongue, but also because of its significant cultural, political, and social meaning. Today, we are going to Louisiana. So, where is Louisiana? Louisiana is a southeastern state. It is right here, so next to let's see, Texas, Mississippi, underneath Arkansas. It actually has a coastal line here lining that. So that might also be interesting. Also pretty close to the east. So, we may even guess that early 1750s. Or even by very early 1800s, the people living here would have moved here to Louisiana and kind of made a settlement there as well. So we're going to be looking at some significant parts of Louisiana that are historically important to us in understanding the United States history. So let's look at 3 different places today. We're actually going in chronological order, so way back, actually even before the United States as we know it. We're going BCE, and then we're going straight to the 1700s, and then to the mid 18th century. So let's jump right in. Okay, just a few pictures of Louisiana. Louisiana is very beautiful. Oh my gosh, look at all this. The green also mixed with a lot of anthropological things. Very beautiful here. It is a heritage for a lot of things, very significant in its historical importance, and today very much involved in the world's economy, education, and technological developments, kind of in the midst of all of that as well. Okay, so let's dive right into Louisiana. So Louisiana, we're actually going way back to the 1700s to 1100s BCE, and we're going to the poverty point. Yes, very sad just by its name. The poverty point is a UNESCO World Heritage, and so what we're actually going to try to go here, that is the World Heritage Site. Yes, here we go. And this is actually one of the most significant archaeological sites in all of North America. I do not know how to navigate to this point, so I'm so sorry. Oh, it seems to be inside here, so perhaps we cannot see it from at this point. Let's see if there are some pictures available outside of it. Poverty Point, Louisiana. Yeah, so the Poverty Point it was the biggest trading and ceremonial center of a pre-agricultural indigenous society. It had massive earthworks built into it. It had concentric ridges and mounds long before the Egyptian pyramids or the Stonehenges, way long before that. And I will actually search this if it is possible. To do so, Poverty Point, Louisiana. Just to see an image of this. Yes, so right at this place, it is the poverty point. And so what you can see here are these are actually called Mound A's. These are the largest earthen mounds in the United States, one of the largest. And these are kind of semicircular ridges. These were actually, the historians believe these were used for dwelling or ceremonial uses, on-site museums also, and guided tours with artifacts and reconstructions. Very beautiful place, and there's lots of evidence of very good engineering without any uses of metal tools or animals. So very interesting, right? And this is kind of the place that you will be, and this remains a central piece of Native American heritage, and scientific study continues to raise questions about prehistorical engineering, ritual life, and social organization, because just by looking at the ridges, you can't help but think, like, how would they have lived here, in what circumstances. Very interesting for us to look at. And it also it really defied a lot of the common consumptions that we have about indigenous communities in North America. A lot of historians believed early 20th century that they were really small and nomadic groups, but history like this reveals that it was actually a really complex society with regional influences and structures. So very impressive here. And it is conjectured that this trade network actually extended across the Mississippi Valley and beyond, and that this trade actually involved a lot of different natural resources, like copper, soapstone, and exotic stones that they could find. So very interesting. I would love to visit this place. Looks absolutely fascinating. And yeah, if you guys have ever been to this place, please do tell me about it. Just very, very beautiful, very, very historically significant, and I believe this is kind of a reenaction of how they must have lived back in the day. So very fascinating, very, very beautiful. Okay, let's now go right into the 1700s. We're actually going very early in the United States history. Let's go to New Orleans French Quarter. Okay, wow, very, very populated here. Let's go right into that building. Oh. Oh yes, absolutely beautiful, this place. So the French Quarter is actually a neighborhood. It is one of the oldest neighborhoods in New Orleans, and it represents centuries of history. It includes colonial history and also very multicultural history, as we will see, because it was the heart of the French and then the Spanish and rule, and then it became part of the United States as we know it with the Louisiana Purchase. And so a bit of a history here. The French first colonized this place way back. I believe I will actually search that up for you. Give me just a second. Sorry. Yeah, so let's try to look around as I try to search it up here. Yeah, so this neighborhood actually here in New Orleans was founded by a man called Jean-Baptiste Lemonnier de Bienville for France, and it was actually called La Nouvelle d'Orleans. And then the French founded in 1718, so way back, and then the French laid it out in a kind of grid style, as you can see here. Very, very regular square complexes that are continued to be maintained here. And so this was kind of a European influenced style of a central square, and it had a lot of important buildings here, a lot of civic and religious buildings as well. So as you will see, a cathedral right here and the central plaza right here as well. So very, very organized. Yeah, let's just look around here a bit. Very beautiful place. Absolutely stunning architecture, may I say. And so the early settlers were usually French colonists, and there were other people of color as well, enslaved Africans that they carried over, and other free people of color. The French civil law and the French religion, which was Catholicism at the time, became its foundations culturally, and this city was actually a really key port for transatlantic slave trade. And so because, as you will see, this is right next to the Mississippi River, and also quite next to the sea here, very, very next to the ocean way that goes out here. So became a very important part of the slave trade, and also significant for the Caribbean sugar economy, because they exchanged a lot of sugar canes. And then in 1763 there was actually after the 7 Years' War that happened in Europe between France and Spain, France had to secede Louisiana in the Treaty of France in 1763. And so that happened about 50 years later after this port was found. Let's zoom right in back. Let's look at other places as well. Oh, very beautiful. Yeah, so this street was actually, although it was culturally a lot French at the time, it also became a Spanish administered state, and so had lots of significance there. And so we had some significant infrastructural changes that happened there. And then there were also really big fires at the time, one in 1788 and one in 1794. And Spain had to rebuild a lot of this quarter back into their way of building, which was with bricks and kind of arched doorways, iron balconies, that kind of way. And I believe it is kind of to a degree preserved in this kind of architecture as well. This is not something that you can see in other parts of the United States as we know it. And so these are still distinct architecture in this quarter today. Very interesting. And Spain also enforced a lot of their legal and religious concepts into the time. And this Spanish law introduced a lot of cultural mix. It also allowed enslaved people more freedom than the French did. The Spanish government allowed people to be multicultural, with French people, Spanish people, African and Caribbean people all living together, and also even Haitian refugees after the Haitian Revolution, which we talked about in another video in our literature club if you haven't checked that out. And then in 1803 there was the Louisiana Purchase. So what happened was France actually briefly regained Louisiana from Spain in 1800 under Napoleon, but they actually sold it to the United States because they wanted to take better control of the Caribbeans. And as you may know, in the 1800s, lots of slave revolts happening way down here in the southern parts of America, in these parts. And so they wanted to take control of that, and they thought they thought they could better use the money here to take control of these Caribbeans and kind of leave this part to the US. And so the Louisiana Purchase actually doubled the US territory. It was a huge part of this region right here. And so it also allowed a strategic economic hub at the mouth of the Mississippi River as we have seen it. This is kind of the mouth. This is where it flows out. So this line to this way and to here, I believe. So they could take control of right this mouth where we just looked at. And so very interesting. And after the Louisiana Purchase, the American government imposed English law, language, and a lot of their Protestant customs as well. So it became a central hold of multiculturalism. Very interesting to find here. So lots of legacies. We have French grid systems, but also Spanish iron architectural influences, and right now American kind of commercialization influences as well. So very interesting. And now it is a prideful part of the United States. And let us go back. And so yeah, New Orleans is one of the most significant ports. Here you will find some very interesting things like the Jackson Square. Let us go Jackson Square. Yes, right here. So Jackson Square is actually known as the Place d'Armes or Plaza des Armes, a historic park here. Also, we have St. Louis Cathedral right here. Let's visit that place. Very, very stunning architecture as well. We have the United States flag there. Right now, it is kind of right in the city, so lots of bars, jazz clubs, really interesting. And nearby we also have the Congo Squared. This is actually this is actually the place where African Americans, a lot of enslaved Africans gathered and started to produce jazz. And so historically a very significant place here as well. Okay, last but not least, we will go to the mid 18th century to the Whitney Plantation. And the Whitney Plantation is actually a very, very heartbreaking place for us. Let us go right in. It is in Wallace, Louisiana, and it is actually the plantation that currently has a museum dedicated to the U.S. history of slavery. It was once a sugarcane plantation that relied on labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants. So this really was the place where a lot of heartbreaking incidents occurred. The site continues to challenge historical narratives about what happened in the United States, especially in terms of glorifying plantations. That this actually occurred, I believe, not at the current era, but heavily around the 19th century, where people were kind of glorifying them as really efficient, when really it was centering on degrading humanity and making trauma feeling experiences. And so these memorials are actually very, very moving. It includes personal narratives, memorials, and restored slave quarters. Kind of reenacts the vision for you. And I will search that up really quick. Whitney Plantation, Louisiana. So yes, like this very heartbreaking things you will find there. And so it continues to contribute to a lot of discussions today about racial justice, about memories in America. And what you will find here, very many different things. We actually have the Wall of Honor. That honors a lot of the people that worked here, the enslaved people. Also, we have the Fields of Angels. I think that was what we saw before, but I wrote, yeah, and so the Fields of Angels, like this, honors the enslaved children who dies, and so continues to preserve histories that occurred in the United States. And yeah, it's a very historically significant place to understand. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I think we looked at some heavy stuff here, but also we really dived right deeply into U.S. history. We looked at very different eras and very different perspectives, so I am glad that we were able to do that. Yeah, I am very glad that I had the chance to share this with you. I hope you enjoyed it a bit, that you had fun, and that you continue to stay curious and learn more about Louisiana. Next week, we're going to Tennessee, and so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much, and have an amazing day. Bye!